DLC guns have been a staple of Call of Duty for a long time. The first COD game to have DLC guns was Black Ops 2 all the way back in 2012. It really saddens me to say that. I can't believe that's actually real. Since then, they've been an expected part of the formula. Now, certain DLC guns have definitely gotten the community hyped for the future of the game. Others have had the opposite effect. Welcome to the channel, everybody. Jimmy, your Chaos. Today, we're going to be talking about what I think are the 20 most hated DLC guns of all time. So you let me know in the comments which one you actually dislike the most. Drop a like on the video as always. And at number 20, the Vulcan COD World War II. Now, this was one of the first assault rifles added to COD World War II. While I certainly think the DLC guns in the game were distributed in a fair way, the Vulc did cause some salt throughout the community because it was arguably a little too good. Fully automatic, really handy recoil pattern made it almost always right up your target's chest and onto their head, which meant if you equipped the high caliber attachment in that game, well, you would just be getting headshot after headshot without even trying. I think Sledgehammer adjusted it a few times and it was reworked pretty hard for COD Vanguard, but the initial COD World War II version, the one that was added as DLC, it made a name for itself. I don't think that it was in a way that Sledge intended. At number 19, the MAC-10 and Black Ops Cold War. Now, it was one of the first DLC guns added to the game. Mainly got a bad rap because of how it was in Warzone. Yes, multiplayer version was strong, arguably overpowered. Warzone version was definitely overpowered because of how ridiculous that damage profile was and how low the recoil was on a submachine gun. The MAC-10 was the meta SMG for the longest time because of how quickly it could melt people at mid-range, at which point, then you just swap over to your DMR and you clean them up. This was a wild time for Warzone, and if you were there for it, you're probably not going to forget how insane it was and how hated it was. The MAC-10 was, for the first month or so, despised. It was nerfed after a while, but not before getting enough hate to warrant a spot on today's list. Do me a favor, guys. Hit that like button. Let's see if we can crack 1,000 likes on this video within the first 24 hours. At number 18, the STG-44 in Modern Warfare 3 2023. STG has appeared in a lot of Call of Duty games. In fact, might be the assault rifle that's appeared in the most COD titles. That being said, Modern Warfare 3 version it caused a little bit of stir over the last year or so because it was awkward to unlock and arguably too good. Despite being a gun from the Second World War, the Modern Warfare 3 version of the STG functions like a modern assault rifle, but it also maintains that super chunky damage profile from other COD games. It's not quite as busted, I don't think as the Vanguard version, but at least the Vanguard version was a default unlock for all of us. Modern Warfare 3 version added as DLC sometime into the game. And while there was a direct unlock path via gameplay, I think we all know that it was much more expedient to just buy a blueprint from the shop and get your STG. At number 17, JAK-12 in the reboot of Modern Warfare. Meant to be the new universe's iconic AA-12. Full auto shotgun, metric boatload of attachments that made it one of the most annoying shotties in the entire game. Giant drum magazines, extended barrels, dragon breaths rounds, you name it, Jak had it. The number of times people would just load into shipment, run around holding the right trigger down with no brain process, and you could ruin an entire lobby's day with this thing in the blink of an eye. Just equip that nice little 32 round drum mag, hold down the right trigger, run around shipment, do it until the lobby either backs out or the match is over, and do it again. Yeah. At number 16, the Javelina AA-50 in Black Ops 4. Now, BO4 had a really long time to kill, longest in Call of Duty history, which meant the guns with one-shot kill potential were super valuable. For the most part, the one-shot kill weapons took some level of skill, but there were others like the Javelina, which was a semi-auto sniper with no recoil, really good ammo capacity, and a very generous one-shot kill range for some reason that took no skill. I don't really have any idea what Treyarch was thinking with this one. A lot of people were of the opinion that sniping was way too easy in Black Ops 4 because of how generous that one-shot kill range was for guns. You had the Paladin, you had the Koshka, then they added a DLC sniper that not only also had a super generous one-shot kill range, but it was semi-automatic with no recoil. What's the logic here? Were they trying to break the game? Because honestly, they kind of did. At number 15, the 1911 in Black Ops 3. It's usually either average or bad in Call of Duty multiplayer experiences. I don't know why, but it is. But the BO3 version, it was amazing. I'm not complaining because I love this thing and it was great to see it get some love. Then again, the Black Ops 3 version of the 1911 was absolutely OP. The fact that it was locked behind supply drops, that was pretty shady. This thing had the power of a deagle and the body of a 1911, meaning the recoil was low, the fire rate was high, and yet that damage was enough to get a 2-shot kill, which is kind of absurd if you think about it. If everybody had access to it, that's one thing. But the fact that you could only get it out of a supply drop? Come on. Trust me. I mean, you're going to be hearing quite a bit about supply drop guns as we move through this video today. At number 14, the Micro MG in Black Ops 4. Let's put the death machine in your pocket. That's a cool idea, right? Yeah, literally just a bite-sized death machine with all the crazy TTK values of the kill streak while maintaining the mobility bonuses of an SMG. Now, obviously, it's one of the fastest killing things in the game, and obviously it was way too strong, so obviously it caused quite a bit of resentment in the community because not everybody could actually get their hands on it because the way DLC weapons were distributed in Black Ops 4. Wasn't quite as bad as the BO3 system, but it also didn't do a great job at making sure everybody had access to the new content. So when somebody was shredding you over and over again with the Micro MG, it was kind of hard not to get salty about it. At number 13, the SPR-208 in Modern Warfare 2019. Now this gun was eventually patched up, made into a bit of a fan favorite, but do you remember when it was added to the game? It was despised because it was broken. When I say broken, I mean literally. A few of the attachments were literally bugged, and it would turn this thing into a one-shot kill hit scan weapon. Made it totally game-breaking in Warzone. Now in standard multiplayer, it was just kind of a sweaty alternative to the Kar 98K, but in large-scale modes like Battle Royale and Plunder, I mean the SPR was overpowered because literally all you had to do was point and click at people, they were gone, regardless of how far away they were. Now Infinity Ward did patch it up pretty quickly, but not before it earned itself a pretty negative reputation. At number 12 is the M16 in Black Ops 3. Now this is one of the most iconic guns ever made, but the BO3 version, when I would say it was one of the best in COD history, arguably only second to the COD 4 version, and it was locked behind supply drops. Now this version of the M16 was respectable with the fire rate, the recoil, well there was no recoil, good handling speeds, and one of the most absurd one-burst kill range in COD history. You could literally one-burst people from across the map with this thing, and it was a hit scan weapon. You didn't even have to think about leading your shots or compensating for bullet drop. Click on the enemy, 3 bullets would come out of the barrel, and boom, they're gone. There was some really good burst weapons in Black Ops 3. You had the M8A7, the XM2, but the M16 honestly gave them a run for their money. The fact that it was DLC, you already know. At number 11, the Reaver C86 in Black Ops 4. Basically this game's version of the crossbow, but it was a little too strong and too cheap. You fired pretty quickly. The bolts were still a one-hit kill like they were in the original Black Ops, and in a game like BO4 where the time to kill was long, having a one-shot kill weapon like we said at the beginning of the game, or the video, was a balancing issue. You shouldn't have to be able to fire this thing as quickly as you could. I mean, you could land insta-kills, and if Treyarch was going to put something like this in the game, probably should have given it to everyone, but they didn't. At number 10, the Street Sweeper in Cold War. The new universe's version of the classic striker shotgun. Arguably even more annoying because now you had all the attachments of the gunsmith, so you could run around, spray and pray, get a bunch of easy kills, sit in a corner while you reload all your shells and get ready and do it all over again. Oh yeah, shotguns were also secondaries in this game, so you could put this thing in your pocket and take it with you. Yeah. I don't know what Treyarch didn't see here. I mean, I don't see how they didn't see all the backlash coming. Not sure how many times the Street Sweeper was patched, but it probably should have launched a little less ridiculous. At number 9, the S6 Stingray in Black Ops 4. Here, I got this. Let me describe this thing to you. Okay, you ready? A 2-round burst tactical rifle with an attachment that would make your bullets explode. That would make it an insta-kill from basically anywhere and give it splash damage so you didn't even have to hit the target. Does that sound like the kind of thing the community would like? Does that sound like the kind of gun that people would want in the game? Yeah, Stingray was a huge point of controversy when it was added to the game, and it took Treyarch a while before they properly nerfed it. This was around the time that people started wondering if COD developers were making DLC guns overpowered on purpose, because there was no way something this OP wasn't noticed during playtest. At number 18, Marshall in Black Ops Cold War. Now, shotgun pistols have become somewhat of a staple in COD, and I don't know if the community is thrilled about it. I'm not. The Marshall was added to Cold War a little way into the life cycle, had some of the most obnoxious traits of any shotgun pistol ever. Generous insta-kill range. Insane damage for cleaning up injured enemies. Incendiary shells. Let's put stuff on fire. And you name it, it had it. After the 357 snake shots in Modern Warfare, people were pretty happy about the fact that Cold War launched without a shotgun pistol, but then they added the Marshall as DLC. Happiness, well, it kind of faded away. At number 7, the Tech 9 in Cold War. We are just bagging on Cold War. Easily one of the most hated SMGs in COD history. Semi-auto SMG, good profile of damage, no recoil, I mean, there's so many ways to speed up the fire rate, partially by having a good trigger finger, and also simple fact, it was a full auto mod that you could use, and it took over the game. It's funny because when the gun came out, a lot of people wrote it off because we didn't see the point of semi-auto SMG, but once that in time to kill was unlocked, all bets were off. It was the only gun you would see online for a while because, I mean, it totally outclassed everything else in the game, so why would you use anything? It was despised by the community for how much it destroyed the balance, but we couldn't stop using it because there was no reason not to. At number 6, the AS Val in Modern Warfare the Reboot. Now, the M4 was, yes, the dominant assault rifle in the game for the longest time, but when the Val was added to the mix, sweaty tryhards had a new best friend. This thing had an integrated suppressor, quick fire rate, absurd fast time to kill from basically every range, and yes, it lost some of its effectiveness beyond mid-range due to that poor bullet velocity, but close and mid, I mean, that meta was dominated by the Val. It became the go-to weapon for TTV tryhards and nuke gameplays. Later versions of it weren't quite as sweaty, but the 2019, it was something to remember. Now we arrive at the top 5. The NX Shadow Claw in Black Ops 3. This was BO3's replacement for the classic crossbow, but it was despised for a million different reasons. Aside from the fact that it was locked behind supply drops, so there was that obvious layer of resentment surrounding it. It was also arguably overpowered due to the fact that it was a semi-auto crossbow. It was an insta-kill no matter where it made contact. Yes, it was satisfying to use. Yes, it looked awesome. But if you were on the receiving end of it, it felt super cheap because all the user had to do was spam the right trigger a bunch of times and they get a bunch of easy kills. This was one of the first supply drop weapons to be added to the game, and it was a bit of a bad omen of what was to come later, such as, at number 4, the XMC in Black Ops 3. One of the most blatantly overpowered guns in COD history, if you ask me. That was a voice cracked, and I'm not going to edit it because I'm not AI. It was a remake of the Black Ops 2 MSMC, but it was buffed in every way imaginable. Fire rate was higher, damage was higher, range was better, recoil lower, literally the perfect Call of Duty gun, and it was locked behind supply drops. Treyarch also took their sweet time issuing a nerf to this one, led to a ton of resentment from the community. If you were lucky enough to pull the XMC from a drop, you immediately had an advantage over everyone else, and even after the gun was nerfed, it remained one of the top 5 best guns in the game. It was one of the most hated DLC guns in the franchise, and yet there's still at least one more Black Ops 3 gun. It's coming. At number 3, the Reclaimer 18 in Modern Warfare 3, the new Modern Warfare 3, was meant to be the Modern Warfare's universe version of the Spaz 12. It did do a good job at recreating the power of the classic Modern Warfare 2 version, but it also gave it semi-auto firing capabilities. I mean, that's pretty accurate in real life, but you know what else Sledgehammer gave the Reclaimer? A damage profile that was through the roof, and the ability to dual wield it. So it was a DLC shotgun that could be used in semi-auto mode while also being used in akimbo mode, and all the while, just one of them has the power to instantly drop an enemy player. I don't know who thought it was balanced, but it wasn't. It isn't. I'm shocked these things haven't been nerfed into the ground because if you boot up MW3 right now, it's going to take you a few minutes until you run into somebody spamming these and turning the entire lobby into the Reclaimer spam fest. My question is, can you put incendiary shells in the akimbo version? If so, At number 2, BMP in Black Ops 4 was introduced in BO3. The community generally really liked it. Solid, well-balanced, generally skill-based SMG, but then Black Ops 4's remake came along and it destroyed the gun's rep and the legacy. This version was blatantly overpowered. To my understanding, it still is. Time to kill, quick. Handling super fast. No recoil. Range drop-off was really good, so you could use it up close, cross the map, maintain a very fast time to kill. I mean, all of that. The default magazine was huge. You could equip it with extended mags for even more spring power, and it was distributed in a way that made it really annoying to actually get your hands on, which meant nobody actually had it. Black Ops 4 VMP broke the game. Actually drove a lot of people away from the game. If you were using the VMP online, there was a 70% chance that somebody was going to yell at you in the voice chat for ruining their game, and yet, it's one more DLC gun that I think was even more hated. At number 1 today, the Marshall 16 in Black Ops 3. I told you there was one more Black Ops 3 gun coming. Shotgun pistol that changed lives. Added to supply drops, and it's one of the most OP pistols in COD history. It was never properly nerfed. This thing could only be fired once before needing to be reloaded, but the one shot would instantly kill from a ridiculous distance, and you could run them in akimbo, so you could just pop people one right after another and never have to worry about that reloading. It was by far the best pistol in the game. And yeah, locked behind supply drops with a less than 0.8% chance of getting it. You like your odds, right? Absolutely to me, pay to win. Absolutely busted. Absolutely the most hated DLC gun in COD history. Now, it's one thing to add an overpowered pistol to the game. Another thing entirely to lock that OP pistol behind a lottery system so that only a tiny percentage of the community will ever get their hands on it. Sometimes I think I miss supply drop days, but then I remember stuff like this, and I remember how thankful I am that we left those days behind. Tell me two 2 DLC weapons you really hated, and I'll see you soon.